So then there's one last thing I'd like to talk about when it comes to events, and that is event bubbling. Now, this is one of those things that you could quite easily turn a blind eye to when you're learning JavaScript, but then it will trip you up somewhere along the line, so it's best that we learn it now. So then, when an event occurs, like a click or whatever element we click, that element becomes the event target. We've seen this via the e.target down here. So for example, when we click on an li, if I refresh this, when I click on one of these li's, one of those li tags becomes the event target. Now, when this happens, JavaScript will look to see if we have any event listeners attached to this element and fire the callback for it if we do. And we've seen that over here because we attach an event listener to each li tag when the page loads. So it fires that callback function for that element if there is an event listener attached to it. Now, that's not the end of the story right there. That event then bubbles up the DOM from the event target to its parent, which in this case is the UL. Now JavaScript will look to see if we have an event listener attached to this element, and it will fire the callback function of that listener if we do. Then the event bubbles up and it goes to the next parent, and so forth. And this is called event bubbling. The event starts at the event target, then it bubbles up to parents to see if there's any event listeners attached to those two. And if there is, then it's going to fire the callback function for those event listeners as well. Okay, so this is called event bubbling. And event bubbling is important to understand because imagine this scenario. Imagine we have a click event on this parent right here, the UL, to do something or other. Now, when we click on the child, an li tag, if we have an event listener attached to this, then it's going to fire that callback function, but then the event is firing up to the UL. And we have an event listener attached to that. And that is a click event for something else. Maybe we click to the left of the UL or something like that. But either way, when we click on an li, the event is going to bubble up and it's going to fire the callback function attached to this event listener. And we might not want that to happen. So let's see this in action. I'm going to go back over here to our code and we can see we already have an event listener set up on each li tag. Now I'm also going to set up an event listener to the UL tag as well. We already have a reference to that UL up here. So I'm going to now say ul.add event listener for a click event, and we'll fire a callback function. Now I'm going to take in the event parameter because we'll use that later, but what I'll do for now is I'll just say console.log and event in UL, just so we know when this callback function fires that this is coming from the UL event listener. Now up here, what I'm going to do when we add an event listener to the li tags, I'm going to just console.log event in li so we know the difference between these two callback functions when they fire. So let's change this to li like so. Okay then, so now if we click on an li tag, then go to the console, we can see over here it disappears, but first of all we see events in li, then we see events in ul. So this is event bubbling in action. First of all, the callback function attached to the event listener to the li fires, then the callback function associated with the event listener on the ul fires because the event bubbles up and it fires this first, then this. So if we wanted to, what we could do at this point, if we didn't want this to fire, we could stop the event from bubbling up, and we do that via a method called stop propagation on the event object. So what we could say is e.stop propagation like so. And that is going to stop the event bubbling up from this point. So if I save it there, then come over to the console, click one of these. Now we only see event in li because when the callback function fires for this, we reach this stop propagation method and it stops the event bubbling up anymore to the parent. Okay, so that's important to understand. Otherwise, you might get some unexpected behavior when you're working with event listeners. Now, another thing closely related to event bubbling is event delegation, which can be really useful when we need to attach event listeners to many different elements like these LIs right here. Remember, we need to attach an event listener to each one of these. Now, if there were many LI tags on the page, we'd have to do this for each li tag. So that could start to affect the performance of our program, and it's not great practice because it's a costly thing to attach event listeners to a lot of things. And also, when we've added new to-dos, event listeners are not attached to these new LIs. So we'd also have to attach new event listeners to these new LIs every time we add a new LI to the DOM. So there is a better way to do this so that we're not attaching an event listener to loads of different elements, and also it's going to work when we add new LIs to the DOM as well. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm going to comment out all of this stuff where we get all of the li tags and we attach an event listener to each one. And instead, I'm just going to attach a single event listener to the UL. Now, I'll comment out this console log right here, but instead what I want to do is, inside this event listener, inside this callback function, try and find out what thing was initially clicked. And remember, we can do that by using e.target. So let me first of all console.log e.target and save that. So what's going to happen now is we're going to click on an li tag. Now, we don't anymore have an event listener attached to those li tags. So no callback function is going to fire. However, the event is then going to bubble up to the UL. And we have an event listener attached to the UL. So this callback function is going to fire for that UL. And then inside it, we're going to console.log the event target. So that is the element that was initially clicked, which should be an li tag. So let's have a look at this. Let's go to the browser and the console and click on one of these. So if I click on this, we can see it fires this, which is the target, the event target. So we're still recognizing which individual li we're clicking, but we're now not attaching an event listener to each one of these li tags individually. We're just doing it to the single UL over here. Then when we click anywhere inside that, any one of these li tags, the event bubbles up and we can see which li tag was clicked. Now, it's also going to work for these new to-dos over here because, again, we're not attaching the event listener to the LIs anymore. So it doesn't matter that these new li tags don't have event listeners. What matters is that we're clicking them and the event bubbles up to the UL, which we do have an event listener attached to. So when we click on one of these new ones, now we can see the target and these work. So that is awesome. And we're doing all this with just one event listener. So then what we're going to do now inside here, we want to delete one of the li tags, the li tag that we click. So what we want to do is check in here. When we click something inside the UL, is the event target, is that an li tag? Now we can do that by using this e-target thing. So I'm just going to log out e for now. Then I'm going to save it. And if we click on one of these and expand, and we go down to target, if we expand this target property, we can see it also has a property inside that, and that property is called tag name, if I can reach it. There's loads of stuff in here. So let's come down here. We can see tag name. So what we want to check is the event target, does that have a tag name of li? Because if it does, then we want to delete something. If it doesn't, it means we've probably clicked somewhere inside one of these little gaps and not on an li tag. But the UL callback function is still firing because it's still bubbling up to the UL and we've still clicked on the UL. So then, what we're going to do is check if the tag name is li. So let me do a little if check right here. I'm going to say if event.target.tagname is equal to li. It's in capitals. That's how the DOM represents these in the tag name property. So if that's the case, it means we've clicked on an li tag. And what we want to do in this case is take that li tag, the e.target, and we want to remove it. So let's copy that and say e.target.remove. Oops, not in capitals. Remove. Simple. So now when we click on an li tag, it's going to bubble up to the UL. It's going to fire this function. It's going to check if the tag name that we clicked on the target is in fact an li. If it is, it's going to take that li via e.target and it's going to remove it from the DOM. So let's save it and check if this works in the browser. If we click one of these, it deletes them. If we add some new to-dos and then click on those, it also deletes those as well. So there we go, my friends. That is event bubbling, and also an offshoot of that, event delegation, which can be very useful in scenarios like this.